Run it up, then run it back. Run it up, then run it back. Run it up, then run it back. Run it up, then run it back.
Yeah, happy Monday after the Super Bowl. I know we're a basketball show, but it's America, and we need to have reactions to it. So Chandler Parsons, Danny Green, in for the beautiful Lou Will. Guys, let's start with Danny. Your grades for the game, halftime commercials. What do you got?
I mean, I liked it. A lot of people didn't like the halftime show. I liked it. I thought he did a really good job. There was a lot of subliminals that I'm sure I missed as well. I caught some, but it was great. Uncle Sam out there was dope. I was going for the Eagles, so it was good to see them win. I didn't want it to be a boring game, but it was fun to watch for the most part, but it got ugly at a point.
It got unwatchable, and that final score really didn't tell the story of what it actually was, Chandler. And I know you were rooting for the Chiefs with all your little heart and your wallet, probably. How you feeling?
Yeah, it was so ugly. Like, I bet on the coin toss, and I won the coin toss, and then I just lost every single bet after there. Chiefs looked brutal. Pat had no protection. Trav struggled. It was bad, man. It was bad. And yeah, I lost. I lost, of course.
We've never seen Patrick Mahomes look mortal like that. And there were moments where he's standing out by himself. I'm like, did he piss off the entire line like right before this game? Like, what is this? But man, Eagles were not playing. I'm happy for them. Commercials could use a little work. Just because you put a celebrity in it doesn't make it good. And that's and halftime was, I've read so many think pieces this morning, Danny, on halftime. Like, I definitely missed some stuff and definitely got others. And yeah, sports.
Like Serena crip walking was funny. If I'm like Serena's husband, I'm like, why are you doing this? Like, but for your
you know why she's doing it, because Drake dated her and SZA, and also
I know. But if I'm her husband, I'm like, move on. Like, why are you doing this? But it was
no,
good.
He's not. He's not saying nothing.
Hey, Kendrick asked her to be there. She's like, all right, I'm gonna be part of the halftime show. Why not? I thought it was. It
awesome. It was awesome. I kept waiting for a guest, but nope.
Chiefs have been great so long. Like, you can't have a great Super Bowl every time you go. I figured at some point they wouldn't say lay an egg, but they wouldn't be. But yesterday they laid an egg. It was pretty bad. I'm like, you can't be great every appearance you have in the Super Bowl. Like, there's got to be a point where, and if they won three-peat, I think Pat Riley might have got. He might have had some. Man.
And that score, like Michelle said, that score doesn't do it justice, because it was done. It was done from the first quarter.
It was like 40-6, but it was ugly. It was ugly. But it was done, and Eagles win. So, by the way, don't tear down the city, guys. I know you guys started to do last night. So let's talk a little basketball, shall we? Because obviously over the weekend, a lot of the headlines that we enjoyed last week sort of came to fruition, and one will come tonight because Luka makes his big debut at home against the Jazz. His first game since Christmas Day. That's when he injured the calf. He was averaging 28, 8, and 8 in the 22 games he did play so far, Chandler. The latest shot, and there have been a lot of those going at Luka from the area of Dallas, but this comes from owner Patrick Dumont, who alluded to Luka not working hard and not having a singular focus to win. I mean, that's just work ethic, isn't it? He cited character and culture. This is from the Mavs over, Chandler. How you feeling about this one?
Yeah, I think it's a little strange, right? He's obviously new to the NBA business. He's mega successful in other aspects. He's a casino real estate mogul who married into the Adelson family, and he knows his stuff. But this is a whole new world for him, and clearly he's got a voice in his head, which clearly I think that we all know it's Nico, and he hasn't been there that long to kind of have this opinion on Luka. And I really don't think this narrative is fair for Luka. Look at the success he's had. Look at the numbers he has put up, the accolades he's received. In just a short 6-year window, he's done everything from took them to the Western Conference Finals, to the finals, has kind of rebuilt this team post-Dirk era. So I did think these comments were a little strange, and he hasn't been there as much as other people have to even know this information. He hasn't spent much time in Dallas from the moment that he kind of took over the team. So I thought this was a little weird. I didn't love it. I don't like them kind of kicking Luka on the way out, everything he's done for this franchise. And how people quickly forget they weren't the finals last year. Like they were in the NBA finals last year against the big bad Celtics, and who were just a better team. They could have possibly won an NBA championship last year because of Luka. So I don't love the narrative. I don't love these comments, but I guess you kind of have to say things like this to help yourself move on and justify the trade.
Well, yeah, because you got protests and people are angry and there are death threats, and I think they're trying to cover themselves, Danny. But the work ethic thing, it's a big deal in sports. What do you think of the comments?
I thought it was interesting as well. And when I read, I don't know if we have it here, he listed a bunch of players, other players.
He did.
From the past, and none of them were Mavericks. So that was what
he listed. By the way, Danny, just so you know, he listed Jordan, Bird, Kobe, and Shaq. Those were the guys he listed as having amazing.
It's like, if you don't have that with them, you can't be part of the Dallas Mavericks culture. And it's like, all right, none of those guys were part of the Dallas Mavericks culture. So now if you listed Dirk, that makes sense, and a bunch of other Dallas Mavericks. But yes, to list the other guys that played for other organizations. But we get the point of what you're trying to say. And said, I think this was just a justification of why the deal happened, or why you allowed this deal to happen, because the city was not happy about it. And I'm gonna say tearing it down, but AD had a great debut to start. He had an injury already, but he is a good piece for them. Hopefully, he's not out in depth for a long time. But yes, this was just a justification to let the people know in the city, like, this is why we made the move we made.
Yeah, I was an adductor, so you have to be effing kidding me that AD gets hurt after having such a great start to that game. But before they played the Pacers on Saturday, this is the Lakers, we're back to them, Rick Carlisle went up to Luka and wished him luck, to which Luka responded, and here's what we're all waiting on: "You should be happy I'm not playing." I do think we're going to get a lot of that, and I'm here for it because he does have that side to him. Over under 26.5 points for Luka tonight, Danny.
I'm going to go over. I still don't think this is going to be the game where he comes, like, he unleashes. I think he's going to feel it out still, playing alongside other guys. But he's just too good of a scorer naturally to not get, if this is like a 32 over and under, I'd be like, all right, probably under. But 26.5, I think he can get that. I'm waiting to see that game on the 25th versus Dallas. I assume that is going to be like an over 40. So that's the game I'm looking forward to watching.
Yeah, a couple of things here. I would take the over. First of all, they're playing the Jazz, and I've been excited for a Jazz game all season, so that kind of shows you the impact of Luka's debut tonight. I would definitely take the over. But this dude, listen, he's been out for a while. It's going to be natural for him to be rusty. He hasn't played in a game in a long time, let alone in a new system with a new team, with new teammates. So again, you look at AD's, debut, he did look a little dominant. They gave him the ball early. They fed him. Luka, he's got to get his legs under him. It's going to take some time. I still think he's such a great, natural, talented scorer. He's going to find ways to get buckets. He's going to find ways to get to the free throw line, especially working his way back in against the Utah Jazz tonight. So I think it's going to be fun. I'm going to watch every single minute he's on the floor. Like this is very exciting stuff. But I think the Carlisle stuff also, I think knowing their banter and their relationship, I think people kind of ran with this. This wasn't like a serious comment he was saying to his former coach, Rick Carlisle. But I do expect him to be on this revenge tour. I will be betting next season that he wins the MVP. Like, I think this is his chance to I think he goes nuts. I think he feels disrespected. I feel like he's offended. And he should be. I feel like me, Danny, Lou, we all would be if we were him in this situation after 6 months ago being in the finals with this team, surprisingly discreetly being traded. It was just a weird situation. So I fully expect him to get in the best shape of his life, hire whoever he has to hire to change or to keep what he's been doing, because that's been kind of working as well, and be an absolute monster the rest of this season and going into next.
I mean, being disrespected, I don't think anyone disagrees with you. He 100% should feel disrespected. Whether or not he turns that into the revenge tour, I think we're all excited to see. Charles Barkley thinks that he's going to have a bit of a hard time, however, playing with LeBron because he's going to have the ball in his hands less than he ever has before. Chandler, do you agree?
No, I completely disagree. He just played with Kyrie Irving, who's another ball-dominant guard and if you remember, couple of years ago when the trade first happened, they were bad. And we were talking about, dang, Kyrie's going to leave in the summer. This doesn't work. They're two alphas that need the ball in their hands. And again, I keep alluding, they went to the finals last year with two ball dominant guards that love to be the number one option. So no, I disagree. And I think that LeBron James at 40 years old, he knows he can be the number one option on certain nights, and he will be. But he was on record saying this is Anthony Davis's team before. This is now clearly Luka's team before. So there's going to be an adjustment period for both, and you're going to have that balance and find that. And that comes down to all of them. It comes down to Austin Reeves, comes down to JJ Redick, kind of putting them in the right situation. But LeBron James is professional enough, good enough, smart enough to realize that this transition's going to be hard. And again, this is Luka's team moving forward, and we all got to do whatever we can do to get that kind of transition expedited and get us back to like an elite championship contending team, which they could be.
What do you think, Danny?
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I think they'll figure it out. It's going to take some time, like it did with Kai. I think Kai and LeBron are very different types of ball-dominant guys. They brought a bunch of guys in throughout the years to try to lengthen LeBron's career and get him off the ball more. They brought in Russell Westbrook. They brought in D'Angelo Russell. They brought in Dennis Schroeder. They brought in all these guys, and ultimately it didn't change Bron's role. He's going to continue to do what he does, and he's going to be on the ball. So I think it might be harder for Bron to adjust to Luka than the other way around. But ultimately, they both will figure it out. They're very good players. They've been playing for a long time. And, we've seen sound bites of Bron when he, I guess, was off the ball a lot, when he had Austin and D'Lo. I think it was against that Warriors series when he was kind of, Draymond was like, we can't figure Bron out. He's playing different positions. He's slashing. He can do that, but I don't know how much he would want to do it and for how long. So I think they showed some times where he was a little frustrated. I'm out there still, I'm on the floor. I can still hoop. So we'll see how that happens or how it works out. But ultimately, I think end of the day, it's going to take some time, but they will figure it out. But it will be an adjustment for both players. I think more so Bron than it would be Luka. Can
we talk about the trade that wasn't? That got done over the weekend, which was a little bit of a weird ticker thing. They trade for Mark Williams was completely rescinded because he failed his physical on the LA side. So that leaves them with Jackson Hayes. He's the starting center, and two-way centers Trey Jemison and Christian Coloco. You don't have Wood because he had the surgery. It seemed like they made a good move there, Chandler. They finally got the 5 that AD always wanted, and now they don't have him. So how big of a concern is that?
I've never been a part of I don't know if you have, Chandler, a part of a locker room where something has happened. I would love to have Lou on, because I think Lou has been a part of a trade.
A failed physical?
A failed trade or a vetoed trade or something along those lines. But I can't imagine guys being happy or coming back to that locker room like in a energetic
Dalton
sense.
Connect? You think it's weird?
Chandler, what do you think? Yeah. What you got?
Let's call a spade here. This is awkward as hell for Dalton Connect, Cam Reddish to go back to that locker room and realize that, again, especially for Dalton, he's such a promising rookie. He's had such great flashes this year, being a huge part of this foundation moving forward for the Lakers. And they trade you. And we talk about the business of basketball. How do these players deal with these rumors? How does Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal go back to Phoenix with these rumors of being traded? These dudes were actually traded, actually moved, knowing that my front office, my owner, my GM, Rob Pelinka, thought we were better off with Mark Williams. So again, it is the business. We can still keep saying it's part of the business. Any other business in the world, this would be uncomfortable. This would be weird. It's definitely going to take some time to kind of be comfortable again in that locker room, but it's for the players in that locker room to make him feel wanted again. It's for the coaching staff to make him feel wanted. And honestly, once you start playing games again, people will not even talk about this anymore. But big picture is this is brutal for the Lakers. This everyone was giving them, A+ rankings and grades for the trade deadline. This is exactly what they needed, a lob threat for Luka to make him comfortable and play pick and roll. And now that doesn't happen. Now you're kind of stuck with these, light, mediocre type bigs that you have to believe in. You now are forced to play small ball lineups, which Luka is not really that great at, doesn't want. He's always loved a pick and roll, lob threat, rim runner guy. And Jackson Hayes is that. And Coloco can be that. But it doesn't carry the same weight as a Mark Williams, who's getting 16 and 10 and has shown such flashes of greatness. So it does put them in a little bit of a bind. I think they are going to be forced to go small with Vanderbilt and LeBron playing some 5. But but it definitely shifts that, I said we did a show last week, who won the trade deadline, and we all agreed that it was the Lakers, and a lot of that's to do with Luka. That also was to do with Mark Williams, and he was a huge part of he was exactly what they needed, and now they don't have him.
Yeah, they went from an A+ to like a B- after the. I mean, Jackson Hayes, he played well. I seen him the other night against the Clippers. He had energy. He's ready. Looks like he's wanted to take on that role. But ultimately, for the duration of a game, for 48 minutes, they need not only him to be locked in, which I don't know if he can do, but they need another big behind him. Koloko, I think, is a young, up-and-coming big, but he's just not ready yet. So ultimately, you got to figure out a way. They can win some games, but they're not in a win-now situation. They had great moves for the future and win now when they had Mark Williams, but now it's just Luka. So it's like the future. You got to build around him this summer because you can't do it now. But this really took down their grade a ton because Mark Williams was a good piece. And he was averaging, even though he was 16 and 10, he was averaging 20 plus and 10 his last, so whatever games it was that he came back from injury.
And think about, they gave up a lot to get Mark Williams. So clearly they know that was a void, that was a hole that they needed to fill to make them a contender. You take that off, they're kind of back to that middle of the pack, kind of right there, can win a lot of games, talented, obviously have Luka for the next foreseeable future, we think, unless he gets moved again secretly. But yeah, it's a big blow to them. It's a big blow to them because, like I said, that's exactly what they needed, and they were willing to give up picks and Dalton Connect and Cam Red. Like, they were going to give up a lot for this dude.
By the way, shout out Josiah Johnson, who, of course, had the perfect meme as a response to Dalton Connect walking right back into that locker room. He always nails it. I don't understand his brain. We touched on a little bit. We want to get back to it now because Anthony Davis was having that sort of revenge moment, if you will, in the start of this game on Saturday. And for 3 quarters, we were like, this is cool. The debut was 26 points, 16 rebounds, 7 assists, 3 blocks. That was only in 31 minutes against the Rockets. And then late in the third, he left with an injury. He was the 3rd player in Mavs franchise history to record 20 or more points, 10 or more rebounds, and 5 or more assists in any half. And we were loving it, but Shams, of course, reporting he's going to miss multiple weeks with the left adductor strain. They only have 29 games left, by the way. They sit 8th in the West with a 28-25 record. So, I'm sure if you had a camera on Nico Harrison the moment that injury happened, I can't imagine the words that were said out loud or in his mind, Chandler. But what are you thinking right now?
Yeah, I mean, this is brutal, especially just how well he was playing, how dominant he's been all season long with the Lakers. And this trade was nuts, right? But this trade was more crazy because of the secrecy, because it was with Luka. And Anthony Davis, we all know how all-world of a talent he is, how dominant he can be. But there's more. If you look at both of these guys, Anthony Davis and Luka, there's been more question and concern on AD's health than Luka's health. That's why I never really understood this narrative about Luka being out of shape or not available. He plays more than Anthony Davis, and he's 6 years younger. So, like, the whole justifying of that never really made sense to me and never really added up to me. But again, Anthony Davis, when he's healthy, he is going to be a dominant force. This short-sighted trade, I think, is solid for the Mavs. I think with AD healthy, the Mavs are still a really, really good team and possibly a contender. I just think when you look at the history of this dude, it's a risk. He's not quite like a Joel Embiid Zion. He's nowhere near that, but you have to factor in him missing some time. And that's a huge risk that they're taking there when you move a 25-year-old megastar like Luka for a 31-year-old, not the best basketball probably behind him. And now if you can get him consistent with 25 and 12 and 6 and him do what he's been doing, that's great. But now when something like this happens, it kind of sheds that light like, oh man, we just traded for a 31-year-old that's now hurt again. Like it's a tough blow for them.
It's really tough, Danny.
Yeah. I mean, he had a great outcome. Like, he hears the rumbling, so he came out fired up. Listen, I know you guys are upset about Luka, but I'm here, and I'm good enough too. I'm good enough to get it done, and he showed that, and he can be that. Especially with the other bigs, it takes a lot of, of the load off of him. Offensively and defensively, he has another big that can block shots, that can rebound, can body up, and free him up for offensive rebounds himself. And he's hitting threes, comes in confident. I had a similar situation. This is where I was concerned. I hope it's just an adductor strain and not something more, because this can trickle down to the groin. This can trickle down to something else. If there's any type of tear, or osteitis pubis is what I think, if I'm not mistaken, the correct or technical medical term. I had it, and it takes a long time to come back from. And I was not a very athletic person before, but after, a lot less shot blocking, and I wasn't as athletic after. So my concern after, hopefully he takes care of this the right way. It doesn't become more than what it is, and hopefully he still has his his bounce back or his athleticism where it doesn't hinder from him getting to the rim or going to the basket. But yes, this is a situation that hopefully I'm hoping that it's not more serious than the strain.
And by the way, we haven't really touched on like the riot, the protest outside the arena, the Nico beefing up security. It's not about AD. Obviously, when they say we traded Luka, the first question is for who, right? Like, I don't know who besides like Wemby or Jokic, maybe you could say that would have made that fan base happy. So again, this isn't like about Anthony Davis, who Max Christie also has been great for them. He might be like the best throw-in of all time in a trade if he keeps playing like he's playing. But this isn't like an Anthony Davis versus Luka situation. It's just Luka was their baby, man. They since draft night, they acquire him like this from day one. Everything he's done, he's kind of the next Dirk, like moving forward again, going to the finals. So it's not about AD versus Luka. Obviously, that is a thing, and with Anthony Davis healthy, I think that's why they did it. They believe in this team with him on the floor, but I don't know what this trade would have made that fan base happy unless it was like Wemby or Jokic, like I said. So again, this was just such a shock, I think, to the fan base, to the city, that is why they're irate, not because it was for Anthony Davis.
By the way, I don't have an issue with protesting or if you want to return your season to whatever, but the death threat people, you got to get a little perspective on life. I mean, this is sports, for God's sakes. Can we relax just a little bit? But yeah, protest all you want. That's the American way. Play-in game. Right now, look, they're in the 8th spot. They're about a game and a half behind who's in 7, about a game and a half ahead of who's behind them. It's going to be a lot of a jumbled mess at some point. What are the odds? Are they going to stay, Chandler, in the 8th spot? Are we looking at a play-in? Like, what's more realistic here?
Yeah, I think they can only go up. I think they're better off than Zach. They're better off than Phoenix, Golden State. Again, this is all dependent on Anthony Davis being healthy and not missing 2 months right now. If that's the case, then yeah, I can see them sliding. But again, I think this trade right now makes them a real threat. They have so much size with Lively and Gafford, and now they have great guard play. And Max Christie, again, he's been great. No one's talked about them because he's not such a name like Luka and AD, but he's going to help them. And now Kyrie Irving again. Kyrie Irving just fully has the keys to do the things he does and be dominant and have the ball in his hands to be able to even play that 2-man game with AD. So I do think they'll kind of stay somewhere in there. I think there'll still be a tough out. Like you put them in the 7th seed right now and they play Memphis first round. That's a hell of a series. I'm not just going to go ahead and pick Memphis right away. So obviously it's obviously key if Anthony Davis is going to be available. If he's available, I like their chances a lot. If he's not, it's going to be an uphill battle for them.
Yeah, nobody's going to want to see them in the West in the first round, no matter who it is. OKC, Memphis, Houston. They are the Philly of the West last year. Nobody wanted to see Philly when Joel Embiid is healthy. But as of right now, without AD, I think they kind of sit where they are. They are better than the teams behind them. Sacramento's been playing better, but I still don't see them catching them. With AD, I think they go up. But as of right now, he's out for a while, and I'm expecting him to be out for at least 2 or 3 weeks. I would love for him to be back for that game on the 25th because I want to see that one. But it looks like he'll be out for at least this month of February and be back in March, which isn't said. That's more important than health. Hopefully he's healthy, in March, April, and May. So he's playing the best basketball. To be safe, I would work around this adductor thing very, very, gingerly and be very careful and fragile with it because it's a thing that can change the career very differently if you don't take, real care.
And
that is not what they want to hear.
And what's tough is obviously, they want to prove they won this trade. They want Anthony
100.
Davis healthy. But this isn't an injury that you rush. Like Danny just said, this is something that can linger, that can kind of be career ending if it does get that severe. So they have to be smart with Anthony Davis moving forward. You just traded your 25-year-old megastar in his prime, going in his prime career for this guy. You can't risk a serious injury with AD.
That is just cruel. It's a cruel sports god moment. There was a funny moment from the weekend, though, Mark Cuban with a sit down with Bill Gates. And here he is.
If after you left Microsoft, you found out that Steve Ballmer traded Windows 11, like the new hot operating system, for Windows 10, the Hall of Fame, but older operating. What would you do?
It's a perfectly worded question. He's a great interviewer. Chandler, your reaction to that?
Yeah, I mean, it's hilarious. It's a pretty good analogy, right? Like, and again,
Great.
I don't think he was involved in this. I don't think you hear the reports that he tried to make a Hail Mary, call, and by then it was too late. And I firmly believe Mark would have never traded Luka. That's been his guy since day one. You've seen the interview about him filing for divorce with his wife before moving Luka. I do think he was truly caught off guard by this, and this is Mark being Mark. This is hilarious, and I'm here for it. I loved it.
Bill Gates a sports fan? I don't even think I know.
Yeah, I don't know that either.
Right? Like
sure.
he laughed like he knew what he was talking about. So I mean, even if you don't like sports, you probably knew what he was talking about.
The world knows, regardless if you know Luka or not. The world knows exactly what's going on.
God, it was perfect. All right, we will take a quick break. Another debut did occur over the weekend. Jimmy Butler as a Warrior, and we've got more drama in Philly when Run It Back returns.
What?
Run it up, the running back, yeah.
Yep, Jimmy Butler, 25 in his Warriors debut on Saturday. He got to the free throw line 13 times, got 11 of those. Most points in a debut for a new team, as well as most in a first game by a Warrior since Kevin Durant in 2016. After this one, Steph said that Jimmy's basically, that's awesome, the exact opposite of him, because Steph took 16 threes and Jimmy gets to the paint. And I suppose you want to hear that the pairing is the exact opposite of each other, which means it's probably perfect. Right, Chandler?
I mean, listen, I do think he makes them better. And when it comes to Jimmy Butler, it's never been an issue about basketball or production. He plays the right way. He plays hard. He's a great two-way player. It's just personality. And can he fit in? Can he give in to what this team is doing? Can he make it, about the team and winning? And he did do that in Miami for a little bit with this whole Heat culture thing and playoff Jimmy. They turn it on and they made crazy runs. But I do think if there's one system, if there's one player that you were gonna give up your own personal stuff with, it's going to be Steph Curry, right? And it's going to be the Warriors and the tradition and the success that they've had. I do think Jimmy is going to play the game. I think he's going to fit in, and I do think he makes him better. Now, I still have questions on certain personnel lineups. How are they going to play Jimmy and Draymond and Kuminga with limited spacing and shooting on the floor at the same time? Obviously, you got Steph who can shoot the ball. You got Buddy Hield. You got Pods. They still have some sort of shooting on their team, but those three guys together, Kuminga, Dre, and Jimmy, they are very similar. They're both athletic, kind of downhill players, don't really space the floor. So it'll be interesting to see how Kerr kind of manages rotations to get the best out of all three of them. And again, Kuminga is kind of that piece moving forward. He's their franchise kind of future piece. Does this stunt his growth at all? Bringing in a similar type guy is going to take a lot of his opportunity, his minutes. We'll see. But I thought this was great for them. I thought, again, Jimmy's comfortable with Mike Dunleavy Jr. He played with him in Chicago. So there's a trust and respect level there, which I think will help him, behave. I hate to say behave. He's a grown up, but to do the right things, because again, Mike brought him in. Mike to a point took a chance, right? Jimmy's caused a lot of fuss around him the last couple of seasons. And
Dramatic.
But this clearly shows he's trying to get these guys help. He's trying to maximize the Steph Curry window. And I do think Jimmy does that basketball wise.
Yeah, Danny, what did you think anyway? I mean, we didn't really talk about that, but do you like this? I look, when you put it like that, like they're the opposite and they have different strengths, it does sound lovely, but it doesn't work.
But I'm with Chandler. Like he just said, it's great that he's the opposite, but they have a lot of guys that are opposite. That's the issue. You can have one opposite of Steph Curry, but not three. You have Draymond, you have Kuminga, all great pieces, all great players, but a lot of opposites. Why Golden State has been so successful is because they had a lot of similar players. Like they had Clay, they had a bunch of other shooters, they had Jordan Poole, they had guys that were similar as well. And, one or two opposites, but when you have a bunch of opposites, I don't know what the formula is going to look like, but this is what Jimmy does. He's great at getting to the free throw line. He's the biggest bully in the league that knows how to not let you allow to touch him. He's going to bully you, but you can't touch him. So he's going to get to the free throw line. He's going to score. He's going to be crafty. I think he's, in a better headspace being here. He's playing good basketball. But yeah, he all those things that Chandler listed that he does it well. And, they're going to need that. They're going to need a little edge. They're going to need some defense. They're going to need somebody to get to the free throw line, especially when shots are not falling, because Warriors the last decade or so have been live and die by the 3-point line. So they need a guy like Jimmy. So this is great to have him. He's an addition. He makes any team better. I just don't know how the total picture looks. This was who they play, the Bulls. So I would love to see how this continues on and how that formula, works itself out against other teams. But there are a lot of other guys that are opposite of Steph, which said when you look at it in the bigger picture, in the grand scheme of things, most people that know basketball don't think it's going to work out that well.
And
well, I mean, look,
Michelle,
Jimmy's like, yeah.
Well, even think from the 5 position, they're starting to do Quentin Post, who is a young dude from Boston, because he can shoot, because he can space the floor. Like, he's getting more minutes now. He's starting over Looney, over Trace Jackson Davis. So it's because he can shoot the ball and space the floor. So that's Golden State. Like Danny said, it's what they do. When you have Klay Thompson, Jordan Poole, Steph Curry, how do you double one of them? Because you can't leave the other guys because they're automatic. That's why I do think Buddy's role is still huge. Podziemski's role is still huge. Moses Moody can shoot the ball. I think he's going to get more opportunity. I just don't know how they play all 3 of these guys together with the spacing. It's going to be interesting to see.
I mean, do we all agree that Jimmy's like the perfect honeymoon guy? Like, at least for the rest of this season, you're literally getting the best version of him, right?
For sure.
100%.
Definitely. And I like the fact that they did keep their young core. They didn't have to give up a lot of it in the trade. So they kept Kuminga, they kept Trace, they kept Podziemski. Like, they kept a lot of the younger guys for their future. Now, they did give up Wiggs and, Kyle Anderson, a couple of the pieces, but this trade was a pretty good one for them, not having to give up so much for him, involving other teams. But ultimately, this is a good honeymoon. I just don't know how it carries over to the next season or even to in this postseason with Jimmy said getting a little bit older, and hopefully, what his history of things, hopefully that he doesn't go back or revert back to that anyway.
Yeah, and the tough thing is, it's like you make this move. The West is so good; it just kind of feels like a lateral move. Like, as good as Jimmy Butler is, this doesn't make them contenders in my eyes. You know what I mean? It's like these stuff to go through the Thunder, the Nuggets, the Rockets, the Grizzlies, the Lakers, the Mavs. All these teams Mavericks are probably better. Yeah, they're all still better than the Warriors. So you make this big move, you make a splash. Yeah, Jimmy's going to buy into it, but once they don't have success, once they lose games, how is that locker room going to be? You know what I mean? So that's going to be the interesting thing that we're going to have to wait and see.
I mean, look, he's walking in and they are what they are. So you have to have some sense of realistic expectations. I don't know. Maybe you don't. But guys, I'm about to say a lot of words and I want you to be patient with me because we're about to talk Sixers and you're going to want to flip a table here at the end. So they've lost 3 straight, 5 of their last 6, 20-32 on the season, back-to-back losses to both the Pistons and the Bucks. They are in 11th. Now, both of those losses were with their big 3 of Embiid, Paul George, and Tyrese Maxey. And both of those losses were against a Pistons team with no Cade Cunningham and a Bucks team without Giannis. So yesterday, and this is where it gets irritating, Joel Embiid said that he's going to need another surgery and a long recovery to get his knee right. I feel like we're living in a parallel universe, Chandler. Did you or did you not say this in the month of October?
I sure did. And I'm not looking for my flowers, my praise. But it's been obvious since he played in the Olympics. It's been obvious that since he's been in the Olympics, he hasn't been himself. He hasn't moved. You can tell just to watch him play. Like, he doesn't move like he was that MVP season. He's clearly in pain. His leg, his knee swells up. And I've been on this since literally training camp. The dude is not right. We need to shut him down and think big picture next season when we do have this big 3 back together. Continue to work in Paul George. Continue to develop Tyrese Maxey and do an all-star level player every single season. And then you kind of have this our big all-world everything fully healthy. But it's just putting a Band-Aid on, doing what he's doing, the load management. And I know he got murdered for saying he's not going to play in back-to-backs. It's because he needed surgery. It's because he's trying to manage his knee and his pain and his swelling. Like, so to me, this isn't news. To me, this is the same thing that he needed in the beginning of the season, the same thing he needed playing in the Olympics this summer, which, again, people can maybe look to that, be like, well, so why did he play in the Olympics? And that's a whole nother, discussion. But the dude's never been right, and this team is not going to be a championship team with him not right. So I do think he needs to have the surgery immediately and look towards next season, because now you're starting to miss some time next year if you continue to delay this and wait. So you have to be smart, especially with his injury history.
Yeah, the writing is on the wall. You just got to read it. at this point. You take losses like that; those are two tough losses to take without their star players. You know, no Cade Cunningham, no Giannis. Like, you take losses with your big three at this point in the season. I mean, when do you decide to make when you try to turn it around, or when do you try to just say, pull the plug and let's just get him surgery. Let's try to get him healthy for next year and try to build for that. Because right now, the way he's looking, said he's not confident in his body or his knee. And it just seems like injury after injury this year has been a bad year for him injury-wise. And with Paul George and everybody else on the lineup, not just those guys, they've had sicknesses. They have a bunch of stuff down the line. At this point, it's like, all right, maybe we should just try to have one pick, I think, that's protected in the top 6. I don't know if they will even get that. But at this point, it's like, let's just try to get him 100% healthy. And he takes his time from now until then, where there's no excuses, to be ready for the beginning of the season next year and have our big three healthy. If you want to still try to keep those guys together and surround them with the right pieces and give it one last shot at a run in a championship, because that window is very small with those other two. You know, Tyrese has some years, of course, but the other two, the window is very small with Joel and Paul George. So, yeah, at this point right now, looking at how things are playing out, I would expect them to try to, talk him into like, all right, we might need to just sit you down and get you correct.
I mean, what?
And worry about next season.
But like, why? What's taking so long? You're 4 months and counting into a recovery that could have already been underway. And now and he's telling you, he's just said out loud, I'm going to have surgery. If you're a Sixers fan, I feel for you. This has got to be beyond frustrating. Like, what is this?
And you know what's crazy is, and I understand what they're doing. They're not ready to throw in the towel when they have so much talent on that roster.
The towel has been thrown in. The towel is on fire.
And then think about this. The one young dude they have that came out of nowhere was going to be runaway rookie of the year, Jared McCain. He goes down with an injury. So it's like, especially when he went down, and then PG's been out of the lineup, and Joel, it's like, guys, what are we doing here? Like, it's not like you're just throwing away the season and completely going in rebuild tank mode. You just throw in this season and you get ready for next year, and you're really, really good and looking good going into next season. So I don't know why they delayed it. Obviously, they want to win. They think they can win it if they're healthy now. They're pretty simple. They're not healthy, so they're not going to win.
What?
Yeah, I mean, Joel, him playing at an MVP caliber level, they can beat anybody. In the East, it's always, open, but he's not looking like the MVP that we've seen last year and the year before. He's got to get healthy. He's got to take care of his body, and they got to kind of save him from himself at this point, because I think he's pushing it because of the statements he made earlier in the year, and the fans kind of question that. Like, I've done so much for the city, and they're like, no, you haven't done anything. You get paid to do this. So he kind of is pushing himself, pushing his body, but it's at some point you got to kind of save him from himself and make him sit out and like, listen, all right, we're just going to try to do what we can to get a top 6 pick at this point. Hopefully surround you guys with somebody great and get you guys healthy.
Guys, I don't think he's the one. This is where it gets confusing. I don't know that he's like, no, I'm adamant that I got to go in, because in the following reason, Daryl Morey also spoke to reporters, and he said that the Sixers are still focused on winning a championship. Oh, okay, that's fair. But he thinks that this could still be a special season for the team. How are we defining the word special here, Chandler? Because this is 20-32 is 20-32.
Yeah, listen, they're better than the Nets, the Raptors, the Hornets, the Wizards. Those are the teams in the Eastern Conference that are kind of trying to lose to get one of these top 3 picks in this draft coming up. Besides that, this is just, but they've been doomed from jump with injuries and more injuries. So again, they're not just going to magically heal. Jared McCain's not just going to get fixed. Joel Embiid's knee is just not going to heal itself. So they have created such a hole that it's impossible for this season to get turned around. Joel is not going to be healthy come playoff time. Jared McCain's not going to be healthy come playoff time. So they're never going to be whole and be that team that they were supposed to be when they were going to compete for a championship. It's not even a fair discussion. Like, it doesn't even make sense.
I mean, unless something miraculously happens where Joel gets back healthy quickly after All-Star break, he becomes back, a new guy. It's gonna be tough to see. But to make a special season, I don't see them win a championship. Even when that happens, they can possibly get to the Eastern Conference Finals if the matchups are right. If they match up with the Knicks or the Cavaliers somehow, and they win that round and don't meet Boston until the Eastern Conference Finals, which said I don't think they've been in yet in a while. So that would make it a special season for them if they get to the Eastern Conference Finals. that's doable if Joel miraculously, but a lot of us aren't seeing the miracle that they're looking for happening. But that could be something to be looking forward to. Said if he thinks he knows more than we do behind the scenes of what his health is, and if he thinks Joel can come back and push them to an Eastern Conference Finals, I love the hope. I love the hope, but
I think I know more. I think I know more than he does, and he's not getting fixed magically. It's not happening.
He just told you.
Yeah, it's not happening.
Like he verbalized the surgery word. The word surgery was said. And also, this is a Daryl Morey thing. It's like a saying, you're peeing on my leg and calling it rain. Like, no, none of this is happening. It's not going to be special. Yeah. It's over, and you got to make a tough decision. It feels daunting, I'm sure, but okay. There's a moment,
make it special also. Sorry to interrupt.
Miracle.
Many
miracles.
And it could be a blessing in disguise. What can make it special is they get a top 6 pick, and they end up going into next year with that person and Joel and the big 3. And, this season, you could take something great from the season. Jared McCain come back healthy. Now you have a roster that can push you to make, not this season special, but a special group for next season. That's the only way, another way that I could see it. Yeah, special result.
Look at you Look at Danny spinning it. He's spinning it as positively as he possibly can.
Get a top 3 pick. Top 3 pick where you can get Harper, Ace Bailey, or Cooper Flagg. Then they're cooking. But I don't know, man.
But also, stop postponing the inevitable if there's surgery coming. Like, that is going to piss people off. There's a moment from the Pistons game, little moment between Joel Embiid and Kelly Oubre Jr. having words. Something about Oubre just not getting back on defense. They squashed the issue eventually, but given everything that we've just talked about, right? Like, Chandler, I don't know. It feels a little much to me.
You know what? I actually respect it. Joel, at the end of the day, is still there. He's their leader, and they go at each other. They both said what they needed to say, and then they hug it out. And again, I think that is growth. That's maturity. And we've all gotten into it with teammates before. And at the end of the day, it's nothing personal. I have my take. You have your take. All right, now let's figure it out. Let's get back to basketball and how we can, help this team win games. So I got no problem with this. I actually like this. I like that they still care enough, and at this point of the season, where that they're actually competing and arguing because they want to win. If you're a coach on that staff, or you're Daryl Morey, you love to see this, that they still have that fire to win this season.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. You need a little bit of fire. You need that fire to show that you care, and growth from Joel for sure, because I think he handled this better than I think he would have in the past. I've seen some of the blow-ups he's had with teammates, and he's usually not the one that's like trying to calm somebody down. Usually people are trying to calm him down. So he's shown a lot of maturity. I'm sure that is due to him being a parent and working with children and kids and having to keep your patience and your temper. But it was good to see him and Kelly kind of talk this one out and handle it themselves. They didn't have to have coaches get in between, or, it was a fight happening. We've seen stuff happen in Lakerland. We've seen stuff happen in many other situations where things have gotten out of control. So it was good to see them to be able to do this on their own, figure it out. Obviously, words and anger and, heated emotions came about, but you need that. It shows you care, and sometimes, you get it off your chest. Now there's a newfound respect for each other. Back in the day, guys used to fight all the time and be friends the next day. Yeah. They don't do it as much anymore.
Let the win streak happen. It's coming, guys. It's coming. The win streak's around the corner.
Right. A fight can help and, make or break a team or build a bond. So it's great to, have, sometimes you need that.
All right. Well, we'll find out. We're going to take a quick break. That man has a family on the other side.
Run it back, run it up, run it back.
Yes. In fact, that man does have a family. And yes. Yes. By the way, tough loss for the Spurs at the buzzer. I have points. No.
Tough loss for the Spurs. Yeah. Michelle, you know what, though? They're on the up and up, Michelle. They are on the up and up.
Thank you, buddy. Yes. And if you ever want to borrow these shoes, I have them here for you, and they're all yours.
Hard pass, but I like Devin Vassell.
Yeah. By the way, love those Charlotte uniforms, just for the record. Chet's back.
Oh, okay, Chet.
Welcome back.
Hello, buddy.
Nothing easy over here. Rough. Okay.
It's also crazy just how good that they've been without Chet, and now you bring him back.
Yeah, no, it's kind of terrifying a little bit. That's
That's a big block.
All right.
I love Scotty for trying. This was nasty.
Yeah, this was rough. That was rough.
A little extra boost on that, maybe?
Wait, I never
Deep
saw. I didn't
dish.
see this. Golly.
First he gets by Cat, and then he does that. Like it's like a double.
Yeah, precious.
Just the
Oh,
in and
man.
out. See ya. He did get a little higher.
You get a
He
little
got
boost,
higher.
right?
He did.
The garden, it's the garden air. People love it.
That was
Rosellis.
strong. Strong to quite strong.
Good. Strong. Oh,
By the way,
Okay.
Danny, I said this
What?
when this kid put his name in the dunk contest. I watched this dude work out this summer. Freak
Yeah.
athlete. Like
What's
I don't know,
happening?
he's tall. He's tall, so it's not gonna look as cool in the dunk contest.
Yeah.
But this dude has bunnies.
Yeah, he's got bounce, but I'm a Stephon Castle guy. I think because he's shorter.
same.
Okay, Bronny.
Oh,
All right,
You
Bronny.
almost killed yourself. You gotta be careful, man.
You
Hold on
almost
to the
took
rim.
yourself
nasty,
out,
though.
but- Dang, dude.
Yeah,
that was nasty though.
that was nasty.
You like that? You like
Yeah.
that?
Are there any
we're
other?
taking-
Are there any other G League dunks, or do we just show Bronny?
No,
James?
we only have a contract for the one.
Got
We're
it,
only
got
allowed to
it,
show
got
that.
it.
Yeah.
Got
We're gonna
Got
take a quick break, a little preview of tonight's action: Warriors and Bucks when we return. Got ourselves a little action tonight. Warriors in Milwaukee. That'll be on NBA TV, of course. Kyle Kuzma averaging 12.5 in his first 2 games with the Bucks. Started against the Sixers. You got no Giannis tonight as well. Didn't have him the other night. This is a perfect opportunity to step up and show yourself, Chandler. Can you do that?
Yeah, I like it. And I think Kyle Kuzma is one of those players where he is great with great players. So you put him with Damian Lillard, you put him with Giannis, you put him on this team that has a winning culture. Kyle Kuzma is going to be good and he's going to be productive. You put him on the Wizards, surrounded with those type of players and that kind of culture, it's hard for anybody. So I do like it for Kyle. I hate it for Chris Middleton, but I like it for him. I do think he makes them better. He's younger. He's healthy. I think he fits what they do, playing off Giannis with the way he can stretch the floor and shoot. So I like this move a lot from Milwaukee.
Yeah, I think
Can I
it
ask
only
you
gets better for him. Sorry.
Yeah.
I think it only gets better for him, especially with Giannis being out. He gets more reps, more minutes, and get a chance to be comfortable. And then when Giannis comes back, he kind of just, fits in, figure out how to fit in together. But he's gonna get a lot of opportunity and get, his legs under himself while Giannis is out right now. So it'll be good for him.
Remember, Jimmy didn't want to go to Milwaukee. That was one of the places he said, no, thanks. Is that a little extra motivation for the Bucks in this one, Danny? Gotta be.
No, not really. If Giannis was playing, it'd be different. But Jimmy, for some reason, he has something against the Bucks, and he gives it to him every time in the playoff series. He's always kicking him out the playoffs. So I'm expecting Jimmy to do what Jimmy does and have a pretty good night. But no Giannis, it's gonna be tough for him. I do like Dame, what he's been doing, and what Gary Trent's been doing while Giannis has been out.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
I like the Warriors.
Chandler?
Bucks played last night. Bucks, Damian Lillard played 43 minutes last night. Guys played high minutes. So I'm going to give the advantage tonight to the Warriors. Big game again for them against another team that's going to be competitive. So 6 a lot of points, but I would take the Warriors.
And by the way, Adam Silver has appointed Trae Young as a replacement for Giannis in the All-Star. We await the AD replacement. Maybe
There you go,
today. That'll do it for us. Nafisa Collier back tomorrow. Have a great Monday.
Run it up, run it back, yeah. Run it up, run it back, run it up, run it back, run it up.